It's not a war of guns, but it is a war against your mind. And it's a war against your heart and your spirit, man. And it's a constant wear down. The social distancing has killed the Salvation Army bell ringer. Because people are scared to get close enough to put it in the bucket. And then there's the change shortage. But nobody wants to do bell ringing because everyone's scared to get close enough. There is a war. But yet in the middle of the war, I heard the bells. And there is hope. And that wasn't an easy time to think, wow, there's hope in the middle of this. It's hard to find it. You have to actually really seek it out. It's not just going to happen by happenstance. Charles Longfellow actually had a moment in the middle of writing this. Or his father, sorry. And when he wrote this, he had this moment that was kind of like David and Isaiah. And we've talked a little bit about them before. Isaiah had a moment in the year that King Uzziah died. It says that he saw the train of God fill the temple and the glory of God, and he saw him high and lifted up. And so there's these moments out of the desperation. Why did Isaiah say in the year that King Uzziah died? Why? Because he was trying to tell you it was that year that everything went wrong, and that year that everything was bad, that year that was just a pain in the tush. And you were like, oh, I'm sick of this year. Can we just get to the next year? And a lot of people said I'm not buying a calendar because what's the point? What's the point of buying a calendar? I filled it out last year and everything was canceled.
That's good.
And I laugh because that's one thing that you usually get as a gift for Christmas. I didn't buy calendars this year for nobody. Because what was the point? Okay. So there goes that gift. My mom needs a calendar. She can't remember our anniversaries and birthdays and Christmas and, Christmas, yes, because she just celebrates all year long. That's how she remembers. But one year I actually made her a calendar with everybody's dates on it. Just because. Oh my goodness. But he had this moment. Writing this song, I heard the bells on Christmas Day. He had a moment in the middle of all of his despair. And you could read it, all of those verses. There is no peace on earth, I said. For hate is strong and it mocks the song of peace on earth. I read that and bawled my eyes out. I was like, he's talking about 2020. Oh my gosh. Did he look into the future and see the riots and all the junk and all the stuff? He's talking about this year. But he had this moment in that last verse where he says, but God is not deaf, nor does he sleep. See, there's a point in our despair, there's a point in our frustration, there's a point in the middle of all that we're going through where you also have to go, God, I know you hear me. Just like David, Isaiah saw God high and lifted up, saw his glory. David had a moment in Psalms 42:11 where he says, why are you cast down, O my soul? And I talked about this before, that David had to pick up his heart. And he had to talk to himself and scream, hope in God! Like he was, putting himself through a defibrillator and making his heart come back to life. And there's this moment in this year that you're going to have to get a hold of your heart and said, hope in God. You're going to have to force yourself to hope. Because things don't look real great right now. I have dared a couple times in just the past few weeks to look at the news. And then when I do, I'm like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
That was stupid. Because nothing looks good. It looks bleak. You notice in that song, all the verses were bleak until the last one? That's how it feels. And I thought, God, we've had a horrific year where every month has stunk. You thought, well, January wasn't so bad, but for my family, we were losing my grandfather in January. It started with that. Yeah. And I've thought about this year, really? Here we are coming to the end of the year, and I thought, God, could we just have one nice week? Since the other 52 have been cruddy? Can we just have one? Can we get one victorious moment? It would be nice. I'm praying so. The Civil War probably felt like that. That was a long war. That was a long battle. But when it ended for all the right reasons. And slavery was abolished. It's hard to see that victory will come, but it will. God is not deaf, nor does he sleep. Pick up your heart this Christmas. You may even find that it's hard to celebrate. I've had very tough years before, and I've shared this with, especially with the ladies. Ladies, a lot of times, we are the key of the celebrations in our homes. In fact, I've heard this story many, many times from different people, that when women pass away and the husband's a widower, a lot of times they just don't decorate. They don't set. My wife did that. She was the one that pulled out the decorations and decorated and put everything together. You know, because Christmas Day, all your kids open those gifts and the husband's getting to see them for the first time too. Isn't that the story? If he pays attention. I remember my dad knew about a few of the gifts, but quite a few of my mom, I put that together like back in July. You didn't even know. That happens all the time. Ask my husband. His Christmas is Christmas Day. He has no idea what I did. None. Once in a while, he knows a few things. And that's what happens. Pick up your heart and have joy, but you have to choose it. I'll tell you, we are in a season of war, and you're going to have to choose joy. You're going to have to choose hope. It's not just going to come on you. You're not going to get up in the morning and just feel it magically. This is not a Hallmark movie. Sorry. It's not just going to magically pop on top of you. You're going to have to choose. You're going to have to get up and make a point like David did and pick up your heart and hope in God. You're going to have to find in this year that moment where you run into the temple and you see the glory of God and you get a hold of that God is still on the throne.
Yes, he is.
And so you're going to have to find that moment